It's a viral video clip of a woman crying after her ex-fiancé was murdered. And right away when I watched the video, I thought it was insincere. It seems like a woman who's baiting to try and get views. That's just my opinion on the matter. But it turns out that may be the case. The actor's family is furious. They're saying that she's not spoken to him in years and they don't want her speaking about it. But let's talk about this story. Now, this woman is getting a lot of flack. She makes this tear-filled, crying video when her ex-fiancé was shot and killed by thieves. The story is actually quite simple. The man's name is a former soap star, Johnny Wachter. He was fatally shot protecting a female coworker from thieves in L.A. Apparently, he saw them approaching a vehicle, or his vehicle. I believe it was his vehicle. They say it took place shortly before 3:30 a.m. on the corner of Pico Boulevard and Hope Street. He was moonlighting as a bartender, was walking back to his vehicle with one of his female colleagues after finishing a shift. When the vehicle came into view, he saw that it was jacked up, thinking it was being towed. He asked the man who was lying on the street next to the vehicle whether that was the case. It turns out they were stealing his catalytic converter. The man pulled out a gun and shot Wachter, who was shielding his female colleague from harm, before he and the two masked accomplices who were waiting fled. Now, this woman made a video crying about what happened. She says that we need legislation just to get a real job. Why didn't you get a real job? Wow. Here's what I think. I think she's clickbaiting. She saw that this happened and it was an opportunity for her to get views. She clearly has no understanding of how government or policy works. And this is why liberal cities are exactly the way they are. Mike Cernovich had a post about this. He says back in the day, what would happen is the fiancé of the victim would round up a posse. The brother, the family, the friends would go track down the murderer and they would get justice. We didn't have policing. I'm talking way back in the day. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I like the idea that police handle this stuff. It takes risk off the regular people and it's not always perfect. It's not. But it seems to have been developed this way for a reason. And there are a lot of good cops out there. Now, Cernovich says it is women like this saying, get a real job. She doesn't understand. The criminals like being criminals. They enjoy committing the crimes. Let me play the video for you. You can see for yourself. Here we go.
This can't keep happening. So many lives are being lost to just us not being smart. We have to be smarter as a community.
What does that mean?
And guys, even if you're watching this, we have to stop being so mean to each other.
What do you think that means? This insipid, ridiculous act, being mean to each other. You know, throughout history, we learned the stories of barbarians, raiders, ravagers, rapists, and I mean in the classical sense. The Vikings storming the village, burning it down, killing everybody, kidnapping the women, and getting on their boats and leaving. We got to stop being mean to each other. Lady, grow up. But you know what? Perhaps she did, because she is the emotional version of the Ravager, making these ridiculous videos for the reason of personal benefit.
Like, I saw some of the comments yesterday, and it's like, guys, let's love each other. Let's not steal, you know? It's so sad that...
I don't even think she's actually sad. Look at her demeanor.
Crime in LA had to do this, and I'm hoping that, change some legislation to prevent this from happening.
Murder is already illegal, lady. So is stealing people's catalytic converters.
These criminals can't keep being on the street and they can't keep being sent back and have no repercussions for their actions.
There we agree. If she's talking about legislation to make sure we don't let them out of prison, okay, I'll walk that back and say, agreed, lady.
You know, the person who did this, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but you shot the wrong guy.
No, they were stealing his catalytic converter, and he tried to stop them. What do you mean the wrong guy? Who's the right guy? Was there a right person to have shot? No.
You know, you can get a real job. Like, I know the job market's hard, but we're all in it together.
They're not in it with you. They like being criminals. They want to be hard. You know, it was, I think it was Charlemagne the God. I was watching this bit on Fox and Friends in the morning. And he was saying, like, when he was a kid, he was studying. And they told him he was acting white because he wanted to study and be smart and improve himself. I heard that growing up as a kid all the time from people in my neighborhood. That's what they think. They ain't in this with you, lady.
You don't have to steal.
No, they like stealing. It's fun for them. I'm not kidding.
You know? And especially take a life over it, like...
I don't believe she's actually crying. I gotta be honest. I think these are crocodile tears where she's faking it. She was dating an actor. I wouldn't be surprised if she had some acting experience or lessons, and she's not very good at it. It does not come off as sincere at all.
Human life is disregarded too easy, guys. We gotta make some changes as a community. We gotta support each other and come together.
It seems so fake.
Maybe that's what Johnny's gift is for us.
Oh.
Maybe he's gifting that to all of us.
Wow.
We should find these killers, guys. This guy was a rising star and such a bright soul to this world. We can't keep losing things like this because people are afraid to stand up and do what's right. And Johnny stood up and did what's right. All the time. So let's be like Johnny and stand up and do what's right.
She's not crying. It's fake. She's making a video trying to go viral. Ladies and gentlemen, from TMZ, Johnny Wachter's family doesn't want X talking murder. She's far removed. There you go. Ex-fiancé passionately spoke out against his murder. And while her heart's in the right place, the actor's family thinks her mouth is elsewhere and not needed. We talked to Johnny's mother, Scarlett, who tells TMZ that Johnny and Tessa Farrell dated years ago and haven't stayed in touch, not having spoken in at least 2 to 3 years. She says his family also hasn't maintained contact with her, which is why she's peeved about her comments. Tessa's emotional plea for stricter laws in LA rings hollow for Scarlett, who tells us she believes Tessa is just clout chasing, even though Tessa's tearful video certainly seemed genuine. I don't think so. In fact, we spoke to her to get more detail about what she'd like to see change in LA. Check it out. Tessa says letting low-level crooks back onto the street under LA's zero bail policy is a recipe for disaster, and in this case, tragedy. Full stop. Completely agree. Completely agree, lady. Completely agree. She reiterates her demand to swiftly catch the suspects responsible for killing Johnny. Completely agree. And in the same breath clarifies she was not sympathizing with them in her video. She did. She was like, can't you get a job? You recall she tearfully spoke directly to the guys who shot Johnny, saying she gets times are hard, but noted they could just get a job instead of ripping off catalytic converters and murdering people. It's this mentality which results in the pain and the suffering. She doesn't get it. Or she does and she doesn't care. These guys like committing crimes. It is status for them. It is fun for them. That's it. Statement that rubbed people the wrong way. In a follow-up interview, Tessa clarifies that committing crime regardless of someone's circumstances is never okay. Still, it sounds like Wachter's family has soured on her regardless. His mom says she wishes Tessa would stop using her son's name for press, while pointing out that some of the things Tessa has mentioned, like the existence of surveillance video of the crime, is news to her. In terms of what happens next, Scarlett says Johnny's body will be flown to South Carolina where his family lives, and they'll have a memorial in LA for him at some point. Cops have yet to make an arrest, and we're hearing the murder has rattled many in law enforcement, with sources telling us this is par for the course for the way criminals have been acting lately, namely more brazen and violent without provocation. Yeah, dude walked up and the guy put a bullet in him. Crazy. That's crazy. You know, look, I grew up dealing with a lot of crime, man. And the mentality usually was criminals, at least where I grew up, they're not looking for a fight. If they think you might be resistant, they'll try and go after someone else, given the option. But it just depends on if you're confronted by somebody with a gun pointed at you, depending on your circumstances, you might just want to comply. It is challenging, though. Telling everybody to comply results in criminals targeting everybody. If the police put out a message saying, if you are confronted, fight back and make sure they regret it, criminals are going to have a harder time targeting people. In Florida, they say, don't come to the wrong house to loot. Floridians are armed. In Chicago, they say, drop to your knees and beg to be spared. The criminals then go, everyone in this city is told to comply. It'll make crime easier. And what do you end up getting? It's a perverse incentive. Now it's getting worse and worse. It's a sad story, man. It really is. But Let me know what you think in the comments if you believe her tears are sincere. She hadn't talked to the family or the guy in 2 or 3 years. The video looks fake. Sorry. I agree on locking criminals up. I'll give her that much, but it looks fake. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.